Yeah, let's continue this special focus, and that was such a fascinating discussion. For more, we're joined by Tamuka Chirimambawa, who is a political economist from UJ, and thank you for being with us. What do you think about that claim that the opposition, we know, is fragmented? The guest there is saying that they have faded into irrelevance. So what you have now is the ruling party, ZANU-PF, against the people of Zimbabwe.
I think that argument is a bit overstretched. You wouldn't want to rule out the opposition as irrelevant. But I think what I can take is that the opposition does have some weaknesses which need to be addressed, in particular when it comes to extending its social basis. So basically I think it's an issue of the new and the old trying to outcompete each other, say who is better, in particular with the new movements we have arisen as of late.
Well, does the opposition have a chance in next year's election, or will we see something new emerging from within ZANU-PF, perhaps Emmerson Mnangagwa going against his old party?
There's nothing that will stop Emmerson Mnangagwa going against his own party if he so wishes. But then the critical point in question is, will he be able to command a critical mass? But I still think the opposition does have a chance, but this is dependent on the measures that the opposition is going to take between now and the elections. But as things stand at the moment, I would say the opposition still has a lot of homework, because there is mistaken fallacy which is actually going out that ZANU-PF has been weakening. It's actually collapsing because Mnangagwa has gone out. But what I actually foresee, which might not be alive to some, that ZANU-PF is actually going under a restructuring exercise, and the going away of people like Mnangagwa is necessary if ZANU-PF is to rejuvenate itself, just as TANU, the Tanganyika African National Union, did when it shifted to Chama Pinduzi and it dished the Ujamaa policies. And even if you look, I mean, in Angola, it's the same process where the President Dos Santos had handed over power. So there is nothing so much peculiar about what is happening in Zimbabwe. There's a high probability that what ZANU-PF has realized is that its politics, particularly rooted in liberation history, the war veterans and the securocrats, have become outdated, and hence the emphasis on the youth. And you have got things like the youth interface rallies, the launching of the empowerment bank.
Wait, because you're acting like ZANU-PF is very modern and rejuvenating itself and trying to renew itself. But we have the leader, Robert Mugabe, pushing for his wife to take over. Just explain your view.
Basically, I'm not saying ZANU-PF is modern. I mean, that is way out of debate. But what I'm precisely saying, I'm saying what I'm observing is that there is an attempt to rebrand ZANU-PF and to rejuvenate it and try to present it more as a civil party, because what you have to understand is ZANU-PF, the predominant mode which it used in order to win elections has been coercion, violence, and intimidation. And when you look at the structures that are currently being dismantled, like your Vice President Emmerson Mnangagwa, if you remember him bragging about how he stopped Mugabe in conceding defeat in 2008 after he had been defeated, and also how he was strongly linked with the military, in particular the military hardliners, who have been stopping a transition from the ruling party to the opposition. So basically this is what I'm saying, that let's not say ZANU-PF is weakening. And this argument which says Grace is coming into power, I think it's actually overplayed. I don't foresee Grace being able to get to the point of becoming president, but she will certainly become a vice president, and that is now a fight I can believe. It's almost certain, with all the provinces endorsing her, and her being the nominee of the Women's League and the One Day Woman. So, but one thing which we also don't want to overstretch is to reduce the Zimbabwe problem or the Zimbabwe question to Mugabe. It's not just a question of removing Mugabe and then democracy just comes, or maybe to be manna like from heaven or like paradise. Zimbabwe's crisis or problems are far much more deeper than Mugabe and their structural. There are issues of policies, and as well there are issues of transitional justice which needs to be solved, and as well as a clear vision in terms of the economy to say, where does Zimbabwe want to go? Does it still want to go back to its policies of chaos and land invasions, or it wants to begin to adopt a way by way it has got stable and predictable policies?
Yeah, we've seen politics ruining the economy, basically,
Yes.
in Zimbabwe. If ZANU-PF, like you say, can actually convince Zimbabwean people that it wants to change, hear their views, going into the elections, who's the face of that party? We've got Robert Mugabe, Grace Mugabe, or do we need a new face?
If ZANU-PF is ever going to, it needs a new face. And I do believe that's one thing which they're trying to do. But for now, in this election, I don't...
Who's the contender if it's not Grace Mugabe, now that Emmerson Mnangagwa is
at the moment, it can be Emmerson because he's out. But at the moment, you can't say who is exactly the new face. But there is someone who is most likely to emerge, particularly when you look at the new crop of ministers whom they've come up with who are young. But Mugabe will always stand there and try to play the figurehead role. But for them to put a completely new face for the 2018, I don't think so. But what I think is that Mugabe will try and run. And once he runs and wins the elections through hook and crook like he usually does, then he will try then to control succession to his own, according to his own terms.
So what you're predicting is ZANU-PF win in finality and not free nor fair elections?
I wouldn't predict ZANU-PF win per se, but I'm saying this is what I see is the thinking within ZANU-PF. But predicting a ZANU-PF win, I think, will be actually overstretching it. I think the ZANU-PF win will depend much more on the steps that the opposition is going to take, because also ZANU-PF on its own, if the opposition particularly is able to galvanize the youth and to rejuvenate it and also to infuse young leadership and retire some of its old guard, it will be able to.
All right, thank you so much for your analysis and time this evening. That was political economist Tamuka Chirimambawa. And this is basically where we leave it with fellow Zimbabwean
Fascinating conversations, but
yeah, we can
lovely
continue
to have had you on the programme. And yeah, that's where we're going to say goodbye for tonight, but stay with us. We continue to cover the race and also the developments in the regional economies around us, particularly Zimbabwe.